Hello there everybody, welcome back to the channel, and the return of Mock Draft Mondays is here. If you are new around here and are unfamiliar with what we do, basically every single Monday there's a mock draft. We start off with just the first round, after a little bit in free agency and seeing how the team starts adding pieces there, if they do add pieces. We then go to 3 rounds, and then we do one big mock draft for all the draft picks the Cowboys have at the very end, a week before the draft. So to start things off, there are 3 primary needs that I've identified for this Cowboys team that they need to address before the start of the 2024 NFL season. The first is linebacker, and in particular off-ball linebacker. Second is running back, and third is offensive line, and in particular for the offensive line, center and left tackle. Now, of course, center is a more pressing need than left tackle, but left tackle will definitely be a need depending on what happens with Tyron Smith. So, those are the primary needs. There are a couple secondary needs in the sense of these positions might need a little bit of addressing later down the line, but I wouldn't be upset if you threw a pick to prevent anything down the road. Those are wide receiver, cornerback, and edge. Those are the other positions that I think the Cowboys can address and I'd be satisfied with. But they would need to address the primary needs first in the free agency period and in the draft if they don't get to that in free agency. And also same thing for the secondary needs as well. So with all that out of the way, let's go ahead and do our first mock draft of the 2024 draft season.
And here comes the pick.
With the 24th pick, the Dallas Cowboys select
Jackson Powers Johnson, center, Oregon. Now, when it comes to the 24th overall pick for the Dallas Cowboys, they cannot afford to miss on this draft selection. In fact, they can't even miss with their first 3 picks because they don't have much draft capital towards the back end of the draft, even with compensation picks included. And considering they don't spend a lot in free agency, it makes it all more important that these draft picks are hits. And with this particular selection, you get a guy that not only is the best player available at this point at pick 24, you're also getting a guy that addresses a primary need with the center position. You don't know if Tyler Biadasz is coming back, and he most likely is not, so you're going to get a compensation pick when he leaves to get his payday. You also have 2 guys on the roster that can play the center position, and that is Brock Hoffman and TJ Bass, who will most likely compete. Now, if you say to me, hey, Space, well, I'm okay with Brock Hoffman and TJ Bass, then hey, you know what? These are guys that can play the position pretty well, but not as good as Jackson Powers Johnson. This guy is one of the better center prospects to come out in quite some time, and so why would you not want to get a guy who plays the most important position on the offensive line, aside from left tackle, to be your guy for 5 years? You get a guy that plugs in right next to Tyler Smith, and you have Zach Martin for at least another year, and then you might plug in, if assumedly Zach Martin retires, you got a guy like TJ Bass who can play guard extremely well, and I'm shocked he wasn't drafted at that point in time. Now, to start off with the positives when it comes to a prospect like Jackson Powers Johnson, he is very damn strong at the position, and he's able to hold up his end of things in the interior of the offensive line. This is something that the Dallas Cowboys have lacked since Travis Frederick retired. You've had Joe Looney and Tyler Biadasz, and both of which have not played the position strong, and also it's led to a lack of quality in the interior of the offensive line. So that's why I stress the importance of having a guy like Tyler Smith to your left, Zach Martin to your right, and JPJ in the middle. Very damn strong interior offensive line. On top of that, he is a very, very intelligent player at the position, which is something you also need. He's able to move up and get into the second level pretty easily, as well as with handling screens. He's done a fantastic job at doing so. The other things that I noticed when it comes to JPJ that I really like is his tone and how he plays the center position. Very aggressive, very proactive, and he's not afraid to get nasty when he needs to get nasty, which, again, I really want to see from the center position. The final thing that I will say about positives that I've noticed is his excelling in both gap and zone schemes when it comes to being a run blocker. I think that he's done fantastic, and so I think he can fit into Dallas, really plug and play, and whatever they want him to do, he'll be able to do it. Now, there's only 3 negatives that I have for JPJ that kind of concern me as he goes into the league. The first is him being grabby with his hands, which has led to some holding calls, and that results a lot of the time when he's been beat by counter moves. So that's number one. Number two, while he has been very powerful and while he is able to exert himself very well, there have been times where he's overexerted himself and as a result he loses his balance. And that hasn't happened a whole lot, but that is something that I've noticed when looking at film. The only other thing that I can really knock him on physically is the length pause that he has with his arms. I mean, those are really the only things that I can knock him for. But I think that he is, without a doubt, one of the best, if not the best, offensive lineman prospects in this draft. And that's aside from tackles, of course. And I think that, look, if you really need a center, which this team absolutely needs a center, I think you go get this guy and you just boogie. You know, with the linebackers, a lot of the guys that I like you can get in round 2. Assumingly they don't move up the draft board. So I'm good with where we're at. So please, tell me what you guys think down below. Do you think this is a good pick? Would you like this pick? Who would you want to pick 24 as we stand here right after the Super Bowl? Thank you guys so much, and have a great rest of your day.